My dad is Walter Garcia Chacon. He was born on October 23, 1966, in Puerto Berrío, Antioquia, Colombia. He's the oldest of four brothers. He also had an older half brother, but he died in 2018. Since a very young age, my dad has had to work. He comes from a very poor family, and as the older brother, he was the one who had to take care of his younger brothers more. He started working at about 8 years, hanging out 5 years, while he also studied in school. But a few years later, he left the school at 7th grade because he needed to obey his parents and work every day. He never had a childhood like any child. He didn't have time to play, and at his young age, he had to behave as an adult. But he always enjoyed to play soccer a lot and was in a competitive team in his neighborhood. His father wasn't a good person at all. He drank a lot and got drunk often, and sometimes he even hit my grandmother, and sadly, as it was another time, that time was something normal for her, and didn't do anything to change it. He also punished my dad and my uncles in a very strong way. Sometimes he would leave them outside all night, or sometimes he also left them abandoned far of their house and made them return alone and walking. Due to all these treatments, my father tried, tried several times to leave home, but he always came back. And that is how it was until his adolescence and young adulthood. When he was 19, I think, they decided to travel to Bogota since their economic situation in Puerto Berrío it was getting worse and worse. They arrived at Patio Bonito neighborhood in the south of Bogota. There he continued working 24/7. He worked at a restaurant, also as an electrician, and even as a bartender. Years later, when he was 26 or something, he was working as a construction assistant and started going to a small store with his college. When he had free time, my mom was also working at that mini store. They met and started sometime dating. Later, they started dating, going to Paris or to the cinema. Until a few months later, they decided to be a couple. They lasted about 3 years like that when they decided to get married. So it was on November 11, 1995, they got married. They had a very happy first year, but a year later, on January 19, 1997, my grandfather died, and it was a very hard time for my dad. But at least he was able to get over it and move on. Years later, on October 15, 2001, after trying many times, I was born. And 10 years later, on February 11, 2004, my brother was born. And although our breathing was not easy at all, I can say that they did so well. They made a lot of effort for us, and I'm very proud of both of them, who, despite the so many difficulties, they were able to achieve everything they have done so far. And that's the reason why I admire my dad so much. Is because no matter how difficult and hard his life was in his childhood, he always worked so hard and tried to give the best to his family and especially to his brothers. And to this day, he continues to maintain that strength. So he is my example to follow, and I would like to have his consistency and try even more harder for what I want. Thanks for listening. My name is Juan Esteban Garcia. Bye bye.